Batman, the Dark Knight, the Caped Crusader. Over the course of the last 75 years, we have seen Batman transform from a street-level super sleuth into one of the most powerful and one of the most popular characters in comic books and in the course of modern fiction. Unfortunately, he's also ran into his share of bad comics, bad writers, and fanboy arguments all across the internet who have basically taken him from Caped Crusader to the comic book equivalent of the Chuck Norris joke. So many ridiculous feats this guy is capable of doing according to all of these sources, but how do we know which ones are true? How can we possibly tell which ones are fact, which ones are fiction, and quite simply, which ones are because Batman?
Yes, this is real music. Darkness. No parents. Continue darkness. More darkness. Get it? The opposite of light. Super rich. Kinda makes it better.
Well, it's been a long time coming, ladies and gentlemen, but because Batman is finally back. And for today's episode, we're going to cover a theory that I've wanted to cover for a very long time, the contingency theory. Now, what is the contingency theory, you may ask? The contingency theory is the idea that Batman, in the case that any particular member of the Justice League might turn evil at some point, that he has a bracketed list of ways to take down and kill, potentially, if need be, any particular member of the Justice League. Now, although we can see in films like Justice League Doom how a lot of these plans are actually very well implemented and debatably would actually work in taking down any one of these members, that does beg the question of what Batman could be able to do without the theory. The idea that, sure, he may not be able to take down Superman, but if you were to actually narrow it down to every one of the specific top, let's say 10 members of the Justice League, what would actually be the outcome? How many matches would Batman win, lose, or so on and so forth, fighting against the Justice League of America? 5 losses, 4 wins, and 1 no contest. Don't believe me? Well, let's break this down as soon as we can, as quick as we can. In one take, ladies and gentlemen, here is Batman versus the Justice League. And go. Superman versus Batman. We've already done it before. I don't need to discuss it again. Next, winner, Justice League. Cyborg. Now, Cyborg is a little bit more of an interesting case because he's a lot more machine-based, and he has all the super tech and the missiles and the lasers and all that kind of thing. But those are all things that Batman's used to fighting before, whether they be automated or attached to other kinds of villains like Superman's Metallo, or the hundreds and hundreds of other villains from the Justice League universe that Batman's had to fight before. As far as dodging lasers and rockets, I mean, he's already been able to dodge the I-beams of Darkseid, and if he can dodge that, surely he can dodge an arm cannon or whatever else Cyborg has been able to throw at him. Not to mention the fact that being mostly machine, although his brain still technically is in control of his actions, that does slow down Cyborg's reaction time, or at least it can make him a lot easier to predict facing a character like Batman, who a lot of his emphasis on is how is he able to predict things, and he's able to fight against things. Now, you'd also use the EMP argument, and you would also say that, yes, Cyborg probably is more advanced, and it would probably have some sort of deterrent to the average EMP. But Batman is not the average foe, and he's likely going to have on his utensils, without prep, mind you, because he'd fight enough other villains, some sort of advanced EMP that would actually work against Cyborg, and even enough just to slow him down just long enough that he actually could beat up Cyborg. Winner, Batman. Shazam! All the power of Superman, none of the kryptonite or magic weaknesses. Point, Justice League. Green Lantern. Now, Green Lantern is an interesting case also because Green Lantern is one of the most powerful members of the Justice League, and he's able to create anything out of anything. And that doesn't seem like a power you'd be able to fight very well, but that doesn't stop the fact that Green Lantern's one true weakness, and no, I'm not talking about the yellow thing, because we're not doing the whole, Batman turns everything yellow, and so he can't be defeated by Green Lantern anymore. We're not doing that crap. Frank Miller did that crap. We're not doing that crap. Anyways, what we're going to do is we're actually going to deal with the other weakness not many people talk about, is the concentration. No matter which version of Green Lantern you're using, his main weakness is the fact that he has to have complete and total concentration in order to pull this off. Not only does Batman have several distracting elements, including anything from sonar cannons to the ability to summon like the giant bat swarms we've seen in several versions, including Nolan's and the comic books, but also on top of that, on his person, and used actually in the contingency plan, is his use of the adapted form of Scarecrow's nerve gas, which we've proven time and time again is very effective against him and would absolutely shut Green Lantern down, no questions asked. Point Batman. Aquaman. Now, Aquaman's an interesting one, and I know I'm going to say that to every person, but it is an interesting case. Now, Aquaman's powers to control members of the sea isn't really that effective on land, except for the fact that when you look at the comics closely enough, his ability to control people mentally is actually something that is not just limited to those at sea. Actually, if he focuses hard enough, he is actually able to control members of land. Not only controlling their minds, but actually mutating their minds, basically, and just mind melt people. And unfortunately, one of Batman's biggest weaknesses, despite how strong he is his weakness to mental changing effects, weaknesses to mind control, mind bending, mind melding, that kind of thing. So that off the bat is going to give this match to Aquaman. Despite the fact that both of them could debatably be at somewhat similar points physically, that doesn't change the fact that Aquaman is also trained in a form of martial arts that Batman is going to have no idea how to fight. Even if he trained somehow in Atlantean martial arts, which God knows where he's going to find a teacher to be able to teach him how to do that. That doesn't change the fact that Aquaman has almost impenetrable armor. So, to that extent, even that with his skin as well, which is beyond bulletproof, that doesn't change the fact that Batman, even if he was able to outsmart Aquaman, even if he was able to get past the mind stuff, he doesn't actually have anything in his arsenal that could actually go to the trouble of actually puncturing Aquaman and actually dealing lethal damage. He could fight Aquaman, but there is no way he could actually beat Aquaman. Point Justice League. Green Arrow. Now, Green Arrow, these are all mostly even terms, but the fact stands that despite the fact that Green Arrow focuses mainly on arrows as his main point of combat, and similar to Batman, he has an arsenal of unbelievable numbers of different things he can pull from, whether it be punching bag arrows, nets, bolas. He has an arrow that shoots cats. I wish I was making that up, but I'm not. Despite all of that, it doesn't change the fact that they've also shown in context that 1-to-1, Batman is just as good of a marksman as Green Arrow is. Even in one comic in the Silver Age where Batman actually has to fight a T-Rex using a bow and arrow. That's not really too relevant to this fight, but doesn't change the fact, still in this context, that it comes to the conditioning and the way that these guys fight. Although it's a close contest, it doesn't change the fact that Batman has been clearly shown to be able to dodge and fight against stronger and faster projectiles than arrows, no matter how he modifies them. If he can dodge Darkseid's lasers, or he can dodge physical bullets, he can dodge arrows, no matter how fast Green Arrow is able to shoot them. Point Green Arrow. Martian Manhunter. Now, at first, you may think this is going strictly to Batman, because of the fact that Martian Manhunter's weakness towards fire seems like it would be very easy to exploit. That being said, Martian Manhunter's main specialty, as we've discussed with Aquaman, is mind melding. And unfortunately, because of his ability to go completely ghost, which there's no technology I believe Batman has in his person that could actually detect that, because thermal vision and stuff like that wouldn't work against a Martian. That being said, his ability to actually completely meld Batman's brain before Batman would have any shot to use anything related to fire is immediately going to shut him down. So without question, point Justice League. Hawk Girl. Now, unfortunately, Hawk Girl is at a major disadvantage here because although her mace is one of her most powerful weapons, its main aspect that makes it so useful in the context of the Justice League is the fact that it's completely impenetrable to magic. A weakness of which Batman does not have. Batman doesn't use magic, and then therefore, at that point, it's just a really big nth metal blunt object. And then it just comes down to the question of whether or not she'd actually be able to hit Batman with it. And Batman just moves too fast to be able to shut her down. To not be able to shut her down. Hawk Girl would be completely destroyed. All sorts of pieces of his weaponry are easy for fighting anti-air against different opponents. And as far as his mixed martial arts experience would take down Hawk Girl, which at most could learn one. Even if you can make the argument that she uses a non-traditional martial art, her fighting style is just so brute force and so slow and one-hit directed when you look at actually how she fights, that there's no way that Batman wouldn't be able to go faster than her and absolutely take her down in a flash. Winner, Batman. Now, the Flash, speaking of Flashes, this is the interesting one, because one could debate that the Flash has actually been defeated by non-speeding enemies before. In particular, he's lost against Deathstroke on several occasions, because anyone who knows the Flash and knows actually how he uses his speed understands that there are specific patterns to how he uses his speed that make it difficult for him to be defeated. Make it easy for people to defeat him, actually, because of the fact that they're able to predict where he's going to be, and they are able to put lethal strikes in front of him. Even if Flash is aware of these things, because at his top speed, he loses reaction time in exchange for higher speed. Now, that being said, Flash is also going fast enough that if he's in a one-to-one relationship with Batman and he sees him on the street, he'd be able to take down Batman before he ever got a chance to get away. That being said, if Batman starts from an advantaged place of not being able to be seen, then the second that Batman can't be seen, Flash isn't going to be able to move fast enough to be able to find him before Batman can set up his scheme. So that's where it stands. If they're standing one-to-one and both person at a which would give an advantage to Flash, absolutely, then Flash would absolutely win on the streets. If Batman is able to hide and Flash is able to hide, and they both come at the combat that way, then that would mean that Batman would obviously win. So in that case, Flash versus Batman, no contest. That's our breakdown of the Justice League, ladies and gentlemen. 5 losses, 4 wins, and 1 no contest. Until next time, like, favorite, and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed our video, and I'll see you guys next time on Because Batman.
Yes, this is real music. Darkness. No parents. Continue darkness. More darkness. Get it? The opposite of light. Super Rich. Kinda makes it better.